go. Anybody who travels around the United States of America, you mentioned that you're from Minnesota, and every conservative says, you're so lucky you have Michele Bachmann. Hell were you thinking? What's Al doing in there? Now, we haven't told you to call the senators and please don't ever forget about Al and Amy. They need to know what we want to tell them too. But this week, it's so important. It's all about the House of Representatives. It's all about killing Obamacare. Oh, heck, I'm done talking. Here's Michele Bachmann.
Said, but I just want to tell you one thing. All I'm doing in Washington is my job. And I think every member of Congress should.
That's right.
And I'm in trouble every day in the week in the media in Minnesota, but it's because I'm doing my job.
Yeah!
This week, Glenn Beck said on his TV show, he said when FDR took office, he said, do you know how many entitlement programs there were? None. There were none. He said in 1940, government payments to people were $1.6 billion, the entitlement programs. Last year, we paid out more than $2 trillion, and that's before government takeover of health care. They are spending us into a bondage we can never dig our way out of. Are we going to put up with that? As a matter of fact, this morning in the Wall Street Journal, they summed up Barack Obama's cost control plan. They said this is what they're going to do. First, they're going to subsidize coverage so much that costs are going to explode. We know that's true, don't we? Yeah. Next, they're going to raise our taxes as much as they can possibly get away with to pay for it. But it will never be enough. And when it isn't enough, then the president is going to hand over power to an unelected committee to limit our treatment and control prices by government order. That's what Democrats are going to vote for. Is that what we want?
No! Michele, you're
Are you going to tell Al Franken that?
Yes!
Are you going to tell Amy Klobuchar that?
Yes!
Are you going to tell Betty McCollum that?
Yes!
How about Tim Walz?
Yes!
Keith Ellison?
Yes!
How about Jim Oberstar?
Yes!
Colin Peterson?
Yes!
Because this is not about Republicans. No Republican in the House, no Republican in the Senate will vote for this bill. Now it's down to one-party rule. And liberalism doesn't look very pretty in practice, does it? No. Now, this is it. It's a 5-alarm fire in Washington, D.C. right now. We just heard that President Obama has postponed his trip to Indonesia. He's going to stay until a week from tomorrow. Can you hear the bones breaking right now in Washington, D.C.? I'll tell you, it's more like an episode of The Sopranos right now in D.C. than anything else. I want to give you just a synopsis of what's been going on in D.C. with this health care bill. This was a story this week in the New York Post, and they said it. They said this is like an episode from The Sopranos. Whether or not you believe Eric Massa, did you hear that story this week about Representative Eric Massa? Kind of about Rahm Emanuel in the men's shower room?
Yeah.
Conspiracies to drive Massa out of office. They've already been buying with Pork Project with special deals. You heard about the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
You heard about the Cornhusker kickback.
Yeah.
You heard about the Florida Gatorade.
Yes.
In Montana, the asbestos buy-off. In Connecticut, the hospital buy-off. At least 11 of these buy-offs happened with all of these pork projects. Then, the president decided he didn't want to let a little thing like election laws stand in his way. So, they rewrote the Massachusetts law to allow for an appointed senator to hold office for several months, hoping they could get the bill through before a little unknown guy named Scott Brown won his election in Massachusetts. If Scott Brown can win Massachusetts, I think Minnesota can go red. President Obama's plans got spoiled in Massachusetts when that election happened. I know you cried all night about that. Their plans got spoiled, and they even considered holding up Brown's seating to let the appointed senator to continue to vote on health care until public outrage forced them to back down. That's what we're here to tell you. It is your outrage that has caused this bill not to go through so far. This is a testimony to how effective you have been. The president planned to have this signed, sealed, and put to bed before he took his August vacation last August.
Yeah.
He didn't succeed. And you're the reason why. And we're not going to let him succeed either. Because now it's getting dirtier. And if you can believe that, because now those who expect to support the president, they're looking to get favors. Let me tell you about one. We just saw one representative from Utah. He was looking like he was on the edge. Maybe the president could flip his vote. So the president offered his brother a federal appeals judgeship, a lifetime appointment. Within about an hour, the president had this representative in the White House twisting his arm to get his vote. Then we saw another thing happen. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm positive. A representative from West Virginia on the undecided list, but by coincidence, the Justice Department just announced they're dropping an FBI investigation that's been swirling around this congressman. My goodness, if only Charlie Rangel had stayed undecided. Now we're looking at Blanche Lincoln. Blanche voted for the bill, but now she's a little nervous. She's dropped 23% in the polls in her state. And so now, the fact that she's nervous, the Democrats have recruited a primary challenger for her. They raised almost $1 million overnight, and the unions have weighed in, and if they can't get these congressmen to vote with sugar, now they're going to come in with sticks. And that's what's happening down in Arkansas. But here's the good news. Our neighbor over to the northwest in North Dakota, remember the Christmas Eve vote on health care that Harry Reid rammed through?
Yep.
When he did that, the whole delegation of North Dakota is Democrat. The two senators, the representative, the two senators went down in the polls 22% after their vote. So much so that Senator Byron Dorgan said, I'm out of here, I'm not running for re-election. The Republican governor decided to jump in and run for the U.S. Senate seat. He now has an 80% approval rating. The new Democrat that jumped in to run in that race decided to jump out last week, so we won that seat. As a matter of fact, there's only one congressman in North Dakota, and in the last poll that they took, He's losing by 9 points to other. So it'll be more than changing socks this November. We are changing the leadership of the United States Congress this fall. And you wait until 2012. This is a one-term president. We talked about Massa, and the real story about Massa is that it appears that Speaker Pelosi's office may have known about the sexual harassment between him and his employees as of last October, but they laid on that story. I'm not saying this is what is, but this is what it looks like. It looks like they laid on that story until they couldn't get Massa's vote. Then suddenly these charges got out and this guy was forced to resign. This is how dirty it's getting. Bart Stupak from Pennsylvania, one of the 12 pro-life Democrats that are saying no to this health care bill. Bart Stupak is saying he's still going to say no, but what are his colleagues? This is Democrat on Democrat pressure. What are they doing to Bart Stupak? Now they're threatening to file ethics charges against Bart Stupak. This is what they do. This is Pelosi's oldest trick in the book. If you cross Pelosi, they file ethics charges against you. Get ready. They're starting on their own now. If they'll do that to their own Democrat colleagues, just wait till November. They'll do the same to all of us. This is how they operate. So don't say that you weren't warned. But they don't scare us. They don't scare us. They're not going to take our country. They're not going to do the worst that they could possibly imagine to us. They've already taken over 30% of the private economy. Did you know that? From the time of the bailout with Bailout Nation in September of 2008, unfortunately, under a Republican president, I voted no against that bailout. From the time of Bailout Nation in September of 2008 until July of 2009, the federal government took over control or ownership of 30% of the private economy. They took over banks. They took over the largest insurance company in the United States, AIG. They took over the secondary mortgage market, Freddie and Fannie, nationalized them. Over 50% of all homes in the United States today are backed up and guaranteed by the federal government. That's wrong. Now Uncle Sam is the company store, and they think we're going to work for them. Is that our future? No! As if that isn't enough, they took over Chrysler. They took over GM. Is there any exit strategy from all of this? No, they're running these companies into the ground. Then they gave 3,400 decent, viable car dealerships across the country. They gave them pink slips, shut them down, threw 150,000 people out of work. And now their next step is to take over health care, another 18% of the private economy. Think of how stunning this is. President Obama took office in December of last year, and we're looking at seeing almost 50% of the economy taken over by the federal government. At that point, we become indentured servants, and we can no longer say with a straight face that we are free men. That's why it all comes down to this. It is this week, and this is the week that Nancy Pelosi plans to put this bill through. But she and President Obama don't get to nationalize 1/6 of our national economy without us voting on it. It's illegitimate, because what they propose doing this week is this. They want us in the House to pass a bill that deems that the Senate bill was already passed.
Oh no.
So they have a bill that we can't read, that we can't know what it costs, And we're supposed to vote on a rule of debate that says how many hours we get to debate, how many amendments we can offer. So think of how much sense this makes. We're going to vote on debating a bill that we deemed has already passed. I think we need IQ tests before these people go to Washington. You cannot do this. That says the bill is already passed. They violate the Constitution. Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2 that says you must record in the journal the name of the member of Congress and whether they voted A or nay. That's James Madison that wrote that provision for your benefit. Because the greatest asset that we have to freedom is that you elect someone to represent you who goes to Congress, who has to put their name next to their vote and how they voted. If they deny that, they have taken away from you your franchise, and then you are being taxed without representation. Have you ever heard of that before? No taxation without representation. They have just started a revolution, and they did it. There is no record that exists in American history that I've seen that says that any Congress has ever passed a bill that they never voted on. It doesn't exist in our history. These people think they are so clever, but they aren't clever. This is tyranny. So we stand here at the Minnesota State Capitol where every year busloads of fifth graders come. Busload after busload, and these fifth graders learn how a bill becomes law. Well, as I said, Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2 says both chambers have to record a vote in order for a bill to become law. I think the President, Pelosi, and Reid need to go back to fifth grade and change our history course. Because Obama's idea for Pelosi to pass a bill and have her members vote on something that they never voted for sounds more like a Chavez tactic in Venezuela than Jefferson. In fact, Jefferson told us we have a duty to resist tyranny. This isn't a joke.
Nope.
This isn't really complicated, actually. It's straightforward. They can't do this. And so it's pretty clear. The government is working against us. They're not working for us. And they've got it all backwards. They work for us. We don't work for them. Obama, Pelosi, Reid, they don't represent us right now with what they're doing. They don't represent us. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution. They need to live up to it. And it's also important to know that these unconstitutional laws aren't binding. How can you amend a law? That's the next thing they plan to do. Once they pass a bill that we don't vote on, then they want to amend the bill that we didn't vote on. And so some have called President Obama the first post-American president. Certainly this health care bill will be our first postmodern legislation where words mean absolutely nothing. This is an ultimate deception on the American people, and they think we're stupid enough to follow them down this path where the rules only apply to us but not to them. They got another thing coming. They think they can enforce a non-bill on us? No. In their bill, they have the IRS enforcing the health care bill. Did you know that? No. That's who enforces this health care bill, the IRS. sheriffs, prosecutors, but mark my words, the American people aren't going to take this lying down.
No.
We aren't going to play their game. We're not going to pay their taxes that they want us to pay for this, because we don't have to. We don't have to follow a bill that isn't law. That's not the American way, and that's not what we're going to do. Because it's one-party rule now in Washington, D.C. They're Chicago tactics, they're Chicago friends, twisting Democrats' arms, threatening their own team members with ethics charges into submission. This handful of people thinks they can enforce their will on 300 million Americans?
No.
They're not going to do that.
Shift them to Cuba.
This is dictatorial what they are doing. We are not compelled to follow a non-law just because Obama and Pelosi tells us we have to. If they pass the bill legitimately, then yes, we have to follow the law until we repeal it. But if they pass it illegitimately, then the bill is illegitimate and we don't have to lay down for this. It's not difficult to figure out.
Good point.
So if for some reason they're able to get their votes this week and pass this 2,700-page Senate bill, if they get it, trillions of dollars is what it's going to cost. When we didn't vote on it, we need to tell them a message that if they get away with this, they will be able to get away with anything. With anything. And you can't say you voted on a bill when you didn't because it's fraud. But we are not helpless here. We are not helpless. There are things that we can do. And I'm going to hearken back to one of our founding fathers, his words, John Adams, our second president. He wrote, "Be it remembered, however, that liberty must at all hazards be supported. We have a right to it because it came to us from our Maker. But if we had not, our fathers have earned and bought it for us, at the expense of their ease, their estates, their pleasure, and their blood. Let's thank the founders and those who bought our liberty for us. Let's thank them." Who have fought and bled and died for us. And these men had guts, our founders. These were no panty waist wusses. And neither are we, by the way. Adams went on to say something about our rulers if they become illegitimate. He said, "Rulers are no more than attorneys, agents, trustees for the people. And if the cause, the interest and trust is insidiously betrayed or wantonly trifled away, the people have a right to revoke the authority that they themselves have deputed.
Amen.
And to constitute abler and better agents, attorneys, and trustees."
Yes.
So we're here today to say to Senator Franken, Senator Klobuchar, Representative Obastar, Representative Peterson, Representative McCollum, Representative Ellison, Representative Waltz, you work for us. We don't work for you. And like John Adams said, you are a trustee.
Yes.
And if we can't trust our trustees, you are no more. And we will kick them out of office. And we will repeal their bill. Because we are not indentured servants. We are free men and free women. And we are not reason. We kill it because we are free. We kill it because of who we are and what we know to be true. This bill will not lead us to a better life. This bill could end up being the stone that sinks this country forever into a sea of debt. We are better than that. We are here today to reclaim the greatness of this country, and great we are. We are great because of the values and the ideals that we were built upon. And that's what we hold on to. That's what we ascribe to. God shed His grace on this country. He gave us this great country, and we won't go out without a fight. Go to Minnesota Majority's website. Click on what you can do. I am begging you this week, make it your duty to call every day these members of Congress. Go down, take carloads of people to the senators' offices here in Minnesota, to the congressman's offices here in Minnesota. There are days when 6 people don't even cross their threshold. Can you imagine if carload after carload after carload show up to their offices, take a bag of dog food and tell them, I'm not eating your dog food. Leave it with them. But this is it. Once this passes, it will change our country forever. And just like these beautiful yellow flags say, don't tread on me. You need to tell them, and you need to tell your children what you did to hold the vital link on the chain of liberty. This is 234 years that we stand on the shoulders of those who fought and bled and died to transfer to us the torch of liberty. And now we hold it. It's ours. And so the question is, are we up to the task? I know you are. And we are enough. We are enough to hold that chain of liberty for the next generation. We will kick them out of office. They prove themselves unworthy. They won't hold the gavel ever again. But we can't let them get this victory, and we won't if you make it happen. But this is it. This rally is not enough. You have to make the calls. You have to make the visits. All week, people have been pouring into D.C. We need people to pour in this week and next week if it doesn't pass. But this is it. It's the 5-alarm fire. So I'm counting on you. Will you be there? That's all we can ask. God bless you. God bless you.
That we want Michele Bachmann and John Klein to take back to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Look around you. Look around you. We heard from inside the Capitol over 4,000 of us here today. Don't let the media get away with telling you anything different. And you can be sure on my show today, I'll be saying there was over 4,000. Michele Bachmann was exactly right. Go to Minnesota Majority, click on the Code Red button. Just because you showed up today doesn't mean your work is done. There's much more work ahead. Right now I'm going to ask